Hello, I'm Andrew Fraknoi, and I want to talk today about communicating astronomy to the public in an age of alternative facts and pseudoscience, an age we all know too well. I don't have to tell most of you, and I suspect this is true in every country, that in publishing and particularly on the web, pseudoscience and fiction science simply overwhelm science. Uh, and it's easy to see around us how much more welcome, comforting lies are than unpleasant truths, particularly when it comes to issues like global warming. Um, we are also at a time when alternative facts seem to have tremendous sway on social media. Not that this is new, every autocrat in history has lied and made up their own version of reality, but it seems to be far more widespread in our time. Uh, After Kellyanne Conway made up this notion of alternative facts to discuss this area, there was a small demonstration in Washington to make sure that people were aware that it's alternative hypotheses we should be concerned with, not alternative facts. And this is not the first time that ideas in science have met resistance from older ideas, but it's certainly a more difficult time, I think, to overcome that resistance, even among educated people. So if you are besieged by questions about pseudoscience or have issues that your audience has raised that you're not familiar with, I'm here to tell you that you're not alone. Your colleagues in astronomy and many other fields have developed resources to help in this area. Uh, a list of these resources, all dealing with astronomical types of pseudoscience, can be found in a guide I put together, and there's the URL. It's bit.ly/astro pseudoscience. And we'll have this up again at the end of the talk. Among the resources there is a booklet at the American Astronomical Society's website that I helped put together, explaining how astronomers know the actual age of the universe and how long cosmic time really is, a subject of some debate in certain states in the United States. But I want to talk today particularly about astrology, where I've done quite a bit of work in debunking this ancient superstition. Some of you older folks might remember a time in the 1980s when the United States White House had an astrology crisis when it was revealed that Mrs. Reagan had hired an astrologer whose decisions helped guide the president's schedule. Astronomers who were willing to talk to the media about such a non-professional area were asked to comment, and I thought long and hard, what could I say that would help even television reporters understand what the problem was? And so I came up with this analogy of jetology, the belief system that the position of all the jumbo jets at the world's airports at the moment you were born is what affects your destiny. And when a reporter would ask, well, why would jet airplanes have anything to do with your fate or love life? You could say, yes, I have the same question about celestial bodies as well. Um, I think many of us are familiar with the idea that the ancients thought that the seven power objects that had independent motion through the sky had magical powers. Even the days of the week are named after them, and that's why the week has 7 days, because there were seven objects that moved among the constellations and in addition to the daily turning of the sky. And the notion was that where each of these seven power objects was at the moment of your birth had some sort of magical effect on you. And of course, the moment of birth was at the time considered magical, although today we might think that the moment of conception is more important. But I was asked by Sky and Telescope to put together a list of skeptical questions that an astronomer might ask in such a context. And that article is now updated and available at this address, bit.ly/astrology debunked, where you can see all the questions. I'll just mention one or two of them. But among my skeptical questions, isn't astrology just a form of bigotry? After all, we consider it bigotry when you judge people by accidents of birth, such as their skin color or religion, and judging them by their astrological sign or signs is equally bigoted, in my opinion. Um, and Also, the idea that since most people only look at the sun sign, where the sun is located, uh, uh, then wouldn't it be true that 1/12 of the world would have the same kind of day? And I think that would be interesting if, for example, as shown in this cartoon, everyone born under the sign of Scorpio was run over by an egg truck. In that case, I think we would reconsider some of our concerns about astrology. But in any hypothesis, whether it's scientific or not scientific, what we are concerned with is the evidence. And there's been a number of tests of astrology. For example, many schools of astrology think that your sun sign, where the sun was at the moment of your birth, is connected with your career choice. And a group of social scientists got together to think of what was the most extreme career choice in the United States. And what they came up with was re-enlisting in the Marines. So they looked to see if the Marine re-enlistees for many years had the same sign, were they all in some warlike sign? And it turned out the answer was no. They, in fact, were randomly scattered among the signs. Even issues concerning love and the sun signs, which is a great industry out there. And people they think, astrological predictions for what signs are compatible and what signs are incompatible. Turns out it doesn't stand up to actual statistical tests. David Voas of the University of Manchester looked at the astrological characteristics of millions of individuals, 9.5 million married couples in the 2001 British Census, to see if the signs that astrologists said were more compatible represented a larger fraction of the couples who got married in England. And again, things were completely statistically spread. Shawn Carlson, in fact, did an amazing test of astrology, which was good enough to be published in Nature. You should look that up if you have a chance. It's the double-blind test of astrology by Shawn Carlson. But in fact, all these tests reveal that you're pretty much wasting your life believing in nonsense if you use horoscopes to guide you. Same true of UFOs as alien spaceships. We now know that the Roswell case, which is so famous, was actually Project Mogul, an experiment, a top secret experiment to try to track Russian nuclear tests. And when even high level journalists, such as the one in the New Yorker recently, take UFOs seriously, we really need some help. And there are people such as Robert Schieffer, the veteran investigator, who has both a bad UFO book and a bad UFO blog, who can tell you the real story behind many of these UFO reports. It turns out there's much less to them than meets the eye. Uh, the face on Mars turns out to be an ordinary mesa, and now the flat Earth is coming back into vogue. As Neil Tyson has said, the good thing about science is it's true whether or not you believe in it. And again, if you want to see a guide for how to answer questions about various astronomical pseudosciences, including some I haven't mentioned, do take a look at bit.ly Astro Pseudo-science. There is help for those of us who need it in answering such questions. Thank you very much.